Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry Gilbert, and I'm a proud member of IACT IMDHA. We're excited that you're interested in starting or expanding an IACT chapter. I've been involved with running a successful chapter for over 10 years. In this presentation, I'll share some of my insights and experience. Karen Hand, Michael Watson, Jessica Hansen, and Patricia Scott will also join us to share their insights. We represent only a few of the chapters and a small percentage of the experience and support available to you. It's our hope that this video will inspire you to take the next step in starting your chapter and connecting you with the community of chapter leaders you'll be joining. Let's get started. Some of you may be considering starting a chapter. You may be running a newer chapter, or perhaps you're looking to expand the chapter that you've been running for some time. An important consideration is location. My chapter started out in person, using space at a local school. During the pandemic, we moved online, and that allowed us to expand our reach to hypnotherapists that live outside driving distance to our previous location. We've chosen to stay online for that reason. To make it easier for our attendees, we use the same link each month, and when possible, we publish the topic for the meeting a few months in advance. There are definite advantages to both in-person or Zoom meetings, so you can choose the option that fits best for you. It's important to think about the culture you want to create, as well as the structure and goals for your chapter. You may choose one or many pieces for your structure, and it's also okay to pivot and create change if you find that the approach you start with isn't ideal. Let's take a look at each of these concepts. Many chapters are educational in their approach, focusing on developing the skills and techniques their members would like to have. You may choose to take on the educator role, or you might bring in speakers and experts to share techniques, do demonstrations, and monitor breakout sessions. I personally love a good mastermind group. This works well if all of the attendees wish to participate, rather than simply receiving information. The concept can be complex or simple. I tend to prefer the simplest version of a mastermind group. As the attendees arrive, in person or online, they add a topic they wish to discuss to a parking lot, which is typically a whiteboard or the chat box on Zoom. They will list a number next to the topic, representing how urgent the issue is for them. You can use a 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 point system, and the higher the point, the more urgent the topic is. This is helpful because you may not be able to address all of the topics during the time allotted. The leader will use the numbers to determine the order and ask the first attendee to describe their challenge. This might be around skill set, a client, or even a business-related challenge. It's important that the speaker mention what options they have already used, so that the suggestions they receive won't cover ground that they have already traveled. In some groups, this is timed to ensure that a number of different topics can be addressed. Once the topic is shared, the other participants may ask for clarification on the issue, and finally, suggestions are made. The group will then move on to the next topic. Business and business coaching may be the primary focus of your group, or you may choose this as a focus once a quarter or even just occasionally. With this topic, it is very helpful to bring in experts, successful hypnotists, and entrepreneurs. There are so many different successful approaches, and you'll want to highlight a variety of them. If your group is drawing a lot of newer practitioners, these topics will be among your best attended. Some chapters choose to have some or all of their meetings open to the public, and they take on the important task of educating the public and giving people new to the concept of hypnosis a safe way to explore it. This might be an annual event, or you might invite the public to join in for the second half of your meetings, allowing the hypnotist to break out and practice techniques and perhaps gather some new clients. In addition to any other topics, one of the most important aspects of a chapter meeting is creating community. Many hypnotherapists work in individual practices and don't have other members of our profession around for support, encouragement, or ideas. As a mentor, I often find that many people reach a place of burnout due to this isolation. We need to support each other, trade sessions, and refer out to each other. Your attendees may not find a lot of acceptance in their family or friend groups. They may not feel that they have a place where they belong. Your chapter can be the safe space where they can find the support, acceptance, and belonging that we all need. No matter what organizational style or goals you choose for your chapter, you'll want to draw attendees. So here's a partial list of the ways you can get the word out there. IACT sends out a monthly email to all members highlighting the chapter meetings. There is also the Mind Matter Forum. Encourage you to post about your meetings as well as devoting a small amount of time responding to questions and posts. These are both great resources for you, so be sure to take advantage of them. You can also connect with hypnosis schools and organizations. If your meetings are in person, look for schools and organizations fairly close by. If you meet through Zoom, of course the world is available to you. Use social media. There are a lot of online hypnosis groups. Join them and promote your chapter. A very effective tool is to start an email list of the attendees and those that express interest, and send out emails announcing the topic lineup and reminding everyone about the meeting. It is important that the meeting be on the same day and at the same time consistently. And if you're on Zoom, consider even using the same link each month. This consistency makes it easier for everyone and will increase the number of repeat attendees. So you're going to want to grab whatever ideas speak to you and just go for it. Maybe the most important piece of advice I can give you is to consider that your chapter will be around for a very long time. I don't know about you, but sometimes I jump into something without considering what it may look like or feel like a year from now, 2 years from now, or maybe 1 or 2 decades from now. So I encourage you to set this up as a group activity. You can choose several leaders to rotate the responsibilities. You can divide up the responsibilities, or you may even invite the entire chapter to participate with running the meetings or organizing things behind the scenes. Whatever you choose to do, make sure that you will have the support you need. That makes me think about the story of stone soup. You may already be familiar with it. Once upon a time, there was a great famine. The people in one small village didn't have enough to eat, and definitely not enough to store away for winter. People were afraid their families would go hungry, so they hid the small amounts of food they did have. They even hid their food from their friends and neighbors. One day a wandering soldier came into the village. He asked the different people he met about finding a place to eat and sleep for the night. "There's not a bite to eat in the whole county," they told him. "You'd better keep moving on." "Oh, I have everything I need," he said. "In fact, I'd like to make some stone soup to share with all of you." He pulled a big black cooking pot from his wagon. He filled it with water and built a fire under it. Then he reached slowly into his knapsack, and while several villagers watched, he pulled out a plain gray stone from a cloth bag and dropped it into the water. By now, hearing about the magic stone, most of the villagers were surrounding the soldier and his cooking pot. As the soldier sniffed the stone soup and licked his lips, the villagers began to overcome their lack of trust. "Ah," the soldier said aloud to himself, "I do like a tasty stone soup. Of course, stone soup is better with cabbage in it." And soon a villager ran from his house into the village square holding a cabbage. "I have this cabbage from my garden," he said, as he held it out for the soldier. "Fantastic!" cried the soldier. The soldier cut up the cabbage and added it to the pot. "You know, I once had stone soup with cabbage and a little bit of beef, and it was delicious." The butcher said he thought he could find some beef scraps. As he ran back to his shop, other villagers offered bits of vegetables from their own gardens, potatoes, onions, carrots, and celery. And soon the big black pot was bubbling and steaming. When the soup was ready, everyone in the village ate a bowl of soup, and it was delicious. The villagers offered the soldier money and other treasures for the magic stone, but he refused to sell it. He had many offers for a cot to sleep on that night. The next day he traveled on his way. I really love this story. It fits so many situations in life, and it really does fit the building of a chapter as well. Every member of your chapter has something amazing to offer. When we attend the Hypno Expo, for example, it really is a beautiful and nourishing pot of stone soup. Each speaker and each attendee adds their own delicious bit to the soup. And isn't that really the joy of it? So you want to take that concept and use it in your chapter. Now let's hear from our panel of experts, Karen Hand, Michael Watson, Jessica Hansen, and Patricia Scott. You may want to follow up on some of what you learned from these experts. So at the end of this video, I'll share more about each of them and provide you with their contact information. First, I want to ask you about how you got involved with running a chapter. Can you give us a start? I understand, Michael, you started the chapter.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and actually, by the way, I noticed that biography is kind of interesting, but a little dated. It's been 45 years now, actually, and how I got involved in doing the chapter was that 45 years ago, I was a priest in the Episcopal Church and had spent 2.5 years in a Benedictine monastery. Came out of the monastery to do pastoral counseling in the Diocese of Chicago. And in the late 70s, some of your people will remember in the late 70s, what was going on was in counseling psychology was an interest in creative visualization and guided imagery processes. And Jacques de Gouin's book had just come out, and all that stuff. So I was doing these guided imagery meditations and processes with people in pastoral counseling. And one day, this guy sort of opened his eyes at the end of this process and looked at me and said, Michael, this is actually hypnosis, which completely blew my mind. And so I thought, well, I've got to look into that. I had an undergraduate degree, by the way, in linguistics as well. So I went through some basic hypnosis training and neurolinguistic programming training as well. And gosh, the rest of it is history. But that long ago, and when I started my practice, the first thing that I wanted to do, we'd moved around the country and we were in San Francisco. And back in 1981, I guess it was, I opened my office in San Francisco, and I just wanted to have a venue that that people could come to that were interested in personal growth. You mentioned in my bio the human potential movement, which I think is really an interesting name for something that we did a long time ago. It's so changed. But I just wanted to have a place where people could come to learn some stuff and some tools to grow, and also to encourage people to become clients and in my practice. So I started this first Monday night of every month program, and that went on for quite some while until I moved here to Florida in 1996. So for a whole lot of years, I had been running. Sorry, 1986. I said it wrong. Wait, was that it? No, it was 19. Oh my gosh, I think it was, it was 1996. I'm sorry, I've lost my own history here. And so when I came to Florida, a similar thing, I went to one or two meetings of a local chapter of the National Guild of Hypnotists, and there were a few people involved with that here. And but they would only let people that were members of the National Guild come to their meetings. And so eventually the message came from on high that we couldn't participate, unless we joined. And so I got curious, and I just wanted to get my own thing going again, and to invite everybody from that group and other places, to come to my first Mondays that I was doing at my office here in Florida. That went on for a bunch of years, and finally, before I was even a member of IACT. But at some point along the line, I'm thinking it was somewhere around 2015 or so. Robert and Linda Otto asked me if I would be interested in having a Central Florida chapter of IACT, and I said no. I said I've got this thing that I'm doing every month already, and I really can't take on another monthly thing. But if you'd like to authorize my monthly meeting as a chapter as well, we can do that, and I can just keep doing what I'm doing, and we can encourage people from IACT to get involved as well. And so that worked out, and did that for a couple of years. Right at the beginning, though, I wanted that to grow when it became a chapter, and so I made it a teleconference. And that was sort of interesting, except my sad first Monday group was coming every month to watch me do a radio show, and they weren't interacting the way that they had before. So I had to separate them out again. I went online, just exclusively online with the chapter, and and then I met this lovely lady that you're going to talk to in a minute, Karen Hand, and she actually I started online in 2016, and I think it's July of 2017. I was looking at the old videos earlier to see when that Karen joined, and oh my God, that has made all of the difference.
Well, that's a great intro for you, Karen. How did you get involved?
Well, I've got to say one thing dating back to my radio career, Sherry. In radio, I always required top billing on my show. It was just written in my contract. My name had to go first. I worked with a lot of men. My name went first. In hypnosis, that has never been the case. Michael has always come first. He gets top billing on this show, and I have never even questioned it because I ride his coattails to glory. I first became acquainted with Michael Watson because of that show that he was doing. It was a telephone thing, it was a call-in thing. He was offering something one night on an allergy cure, an NLP allergy cure. Michael, I don't remember, was that Ann Spencer? I don't, maybe
King, and
Ann,
King.
that's right. Yes, Ann King, that's right. And I attended, and it was fabulous. And I absolutely fell in love with him that night. That very year, I believe, maybe it was the next year, I happened to be at Hypno Thoughts in Vegas, and I was attending Melissa Tier's workshop. She brought up this Michael Watson guy, and I went, oh my gosh, that's him. He's here. And we took a break at one point. When I came back from the break, there was someone saying, Michael Watson is looking for you. Me? He wants to meet me? I couldn't wait. Well, as it turns out, Michael went to grade school, elementary school with a Karen Hand. And when he saw that Karen Hand was at this event, he wanted to meet his old school chum. Well, I wasn't, obviously, but did we ever hit it off? And we were friends for a couple of months, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come join me and do this?" And I was just blown away. I was scared to death the first couple of times because I was on this show with this mega brilliant hypnotist, and I was supposed to compete or keep up with that or whatever. I learned so much in such a short amount of time. And what I really loved was that Michael made it his business to get to know, to discover hypnotists all over the world. Whether they were in IACT, IMDHA or not, if they had something new or valuable to bring to the table, he wanted to share it. He made it free for everybody. Nobody needed any membership or anything like that. I just thought it was a brilliant way to give back. He's held true to that. I follow him in this. I do anything he wants with this because I do believe he's brilliant. I think it's a great thing we've got going. And I think we've helped a lot of people learn a lot of different things about hypnosis. You know, some of the things that we present on the virtual chapter, it's not really my philosophy of hypnosis or the way I practice it, but geez, how are we going to learn if we just stick with our own little incestuous group? We've got to branch out and learn other things. And I pick up a tidbit or two from every single person we have on, even if I don't necessarily adopt the philosophy. Oh gosh, that's a great thing to try. Let me see how that might work. And that's what I think Michael has put out there and really continues to grow. And let me tell you something. Everybody in the world knows Michael Watson. When I say, "Would you come on my show?" I do a show with Michael Watson. They go, "Oh, well then." So it's instant street cred. He's a good person to know. That's how I got involved with it, Sherry, was because of Michael, and I am just thrilled.
I love that. And clearly, the two of you have a great synergy. Michael, what made you decide you should have a partner in this?
Well, there's a lot of work involved in doing a chapter. Finding the speakers and finding them that are available at the right times and the right places. Everything that we do live, and that's true. I think with most of the chapters where there are other people that have podcasts or webcasts and stuff that are pre-recorded, and whenever it's convenient we can get together with somebody. So there's some juggling to do to make this happen, and my practice has been busy, my life has been really busy, and the fact that there's somebody there to assist with that makes all the difference in the world. Who, by the way, I wonder if she had noticed, but whenever I was writing the notes for we post our chapter meetings on YouTube, I always say Karen Hand and Michael Watson.
I did not notice that. But thank
Shared
you.
credit. I love it. Shared credit.
Oh gosh, yeah, she is so special.
I would never consider that in hypnosis. I'm always second to Michael.
Well, I love that you guys work really well together. Is that something that you recommend for people starting chapters, or if they're looking to expand their chapter, that they have a partner or maybe multiple partners?
It brings things together. It spreads out the work a little bit. We bring a lot of people to the show, and Michael knows people. I know people. We go to different conferences. We encounter different things, and it just helps. Also, it helps to have somebody who's out there who you can talk to about something, who can help with some of the work. Because when you first get involved, it seems kind of like, well, okay, so I'll set up a guest once a month, big deal. Once you run through your friend base and your acquaintance base, you still have some of the year left. So, it helps to have somebody help generate ideas. And I don't know if everybody does it the way we do it, Sherry. We bring guests, but we also offer a feature at the beginning. So we come up with something that we are dedicated to sharing with our group every week, every month, something new. And it helps to have somebody else coming up and generating some of the ideas for that.
So
Absolutely.
how did you get involved in running a chapter?
Well, years ago, when we were doing everything live, many years ago, I was doing a monthly, what I called a master class, because once I became a trainer for IACT and then later IMDHA, I wanted to have my students have a place to practice. Because when I was trained all those years ago, they train you and then they throw you out in the world. And back then they didn't even really talk about business or anything. Of course, we didn't have the internet back then, but still, I didn't know what to do. So I made a lot of mistakes and so when I started my practice, when I started becoming a trainer, I wanted to have a place for my students to come and have actual hands-on practice with people from the public sometimes. And also, I'm a big believer in us being ambassadors for educating the public. And since my specialty has always been, since 92, I started in the medical side of hypnotherapy, is educating the medical community, the healing arts professionals, the nurses, the physical therapists, all these different people that work with the mind-body connection and aren't always all that well trained in how to make that connection and how to use hypnotic language as we know how to do it to help people to make changes that can be more permanent and more profoundly dramatic than what sometimes just a superficial change can happen.
I think it's beautiful that you've invested so much time educating medical professionals because they do have these incredible opportunities to use language in a way that helps people. And often, probably most of the time, they're not really well trained in that
Right.
arena.
Right. And sometimes they don't realize they're literally what we would call hypnotizing their patients.
Yes.
You focus on things that aren't necessarily the outcomes that you really want them to focus. And of course, because of liability, they have to do that. But I don't think I answered your question because I was already doing a monthly masterclass and bringing in the public live. When I started my chapter years ago, I guess when they first started doing those, I jumped in right away as I usually do. And I thought I'll make it part of my monthly class that I already had going. So I started doing it as the first part of these little educational trainings as a chapter meeting and to be able to explain, different areas of the business side of it and how I'm involved with IACT and IMDHA, of course, and helping people to be introduced to some of the resources and possibilities that are open to them for further study, for interacting. And I'm, like I said, I'm a big believer in hypnotists interacting with each other. I love meeting other hypnotists. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I meet people. When I first moved to Florida, I didn't know anybody. And I was trying to find everybody I could find. There weren't hardly any hypnotists in Tampa Bay back then, by the way. And partially, I'm sure, because of my school and just getting the word out, there's everywhere. They're everywhere now. And that's a good thing. But I would go to meetings like Chamber of Commerce and one time I remember in particular, someone said, there's another hypnotist here, right? This big social gathering they had, right? And I said, where? And they said, well, isn't that competition for you? And I said, honey, there's no competition for me except right here. I said, I want to meet this person. And we became best friends instantly. And, that's, to me, that's where we grow. And by being inspired, and that's to me what the chapters are, to educate and to inspire each other. And I keep mine open to the public and to my clients. I tell my clients about it because I do them online now. Since COVID, I just started doing them online. But when I turned it into the online thing, I do what I call a 1 hour free webinar, mini webinar every month. And it is also a chapter meeting. So I incorporated in the beginning of it. And it's free for anybody who wants to come. And I edit them and put them on YouTube afterwards. So if people can't make it, they can go back and, watch them. But to me, it's about educating and also just that camaraderie that we get from being in a virtual room together. We still get that connection with people, because I know people that I've only met online that I feel like I know them like my best friend next door, And so there is, I was kind of surprised that closeness and that real connection you can make with people even online.
I do think so because of the consistency, right? If you're meeting regularly every month, you do start to feel like I genuinely know this person. And then when you're at the Hypno Expo, you can meet in person and maybe have lunch.
Exactly.
I think your point is very well taken. I do talk to a lot of hypnotherapists that feel very alone and very isolated in their work because they're in a private practice just by themselves, and they don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of or to seek support from. So I love what you're doing. Tell me more about keeping it open to the public. I know not all chapters do that.
Yeah, and that partially comes from back at the beginning of my career. I started the first chapter of the American Board of Hypnotherapy out in California with another lady because we wanted somewhere where we could get together with other hypnotists. And we opened it up to people who weren't members of ABH, which didn't go over really well back then. And we said, too bad. We want everybody to interact. And to me, anything that, like, the name of my company is Unlimited Possibilities Club. The up in my, that's what it stands for. And to me, anything that limits anything is a turnoff to me. It always has been. And to me, more is always better. To have more people exposed and have access to information, again, inspiration, all these things that we do in hopefully our, in our chapter meetings. And if there's somebody new that hasn't thought about maybe even becoming a hypnotist or just learning more about hypnosis or starting their own chapter, which hopefully this will inspire people, because the more people you meet and you get inspired, the more people that you meet and get inspired by and share information with, the more possibilities are going to open up for everyone involved. And isn't that what life is? It's meant for us to evolve and grow and expand, not to contract and, guard ourselves from other people. To me, that never made sense. So always open to anybody.
It's my understanding that you run your chapter primarily by yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I've always done it alone. I always did the master classes by myself. And when I started it, I did it for that reason. Every once in a while, I do bring in someone to present something. But so far, I've been in this business for almost 33 years now. And I have this sense of urgency as I get older that I want to share from my great teachers and mentors through the years. I was just lucky to stumble on some of the most amazing people and not even realize it sometimes till later, And so sharing in a 1 hour, there's not a lot of time, obviously. So I like to share my overview and then offer more information, more resources, again, online or different videos people can watch to further educate and inform and inspire themselves about whatever that topic was for that night. But I've just got so much in here that I want to share that so far I don't bring in a lot of for that little 1 hour. I do a lot of other things that I bring in all of my amazing colleagues that I'm lucky enough to live in the same world with, because I love to share. Matter of fact, some of them end up showing up for my trainings. They just show up because they want to be there and interact with students that are learning this, that are excited, that are hungry. Because we know what it's like when you're hungry for this, and it never goes away. It's like there's never enough time to just get it as much as we want to get from it.
I'm not sure where to start first. Let's talk about HypnoTurtle.
Oh, so HypnoTurtle is actually a gift from my mom. Because my logo is a turtle as well. And I have found that bringing HypnoTurtle with to events makes me more approachable as a hypnotist. There was a huge difference in approachability as soon as I started dragging him along. People just came up and like, oh, obviously kind of Franklin-ish, but for some reason, a stuffed animal makes you very approachable as a hypnotist. So
I would walk right up to you. He's so adorable. Yeah. I would want to see if I could squeeze him.
Yeah, and people go, can I take a picture with him? I'm like, sure you can, but I do leave my Hypnosis Works button on him, and he generally does wear his hat. So
love it. Love it. Yeah. That's a stroke of brilliance. And that's part of why we have you on our video today, because I think you've got a lot more brilliance to share with us. So I want to hear, tell me about the chapter that you run. How long have you been running it? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so the chapter meeting I run here in Minnesota with one of my former students, actually, Tony Baumgartner. Her and I kind of co-run it. It came out of necessity, actually, because I was having so many clients after our COVID spell just saying, I don't belong anywhere. And I'm digging into this and I'm digging into that. And I don't belong at church. I don't belong at work. And they're just so lost and floundering. And of course, they were coming to me for personal work, but I heard it from so many people. And finally, it was like, you know what? I need to have a chapter meeting, a place for people to meet each other because they all had things in common. So then I reached out to my former student and I said, hey, are you game for this? So we did our paperwork with IACT and set it up, and we are called the Minnesota Mindbenders. We meet fun, and we just have fun. It has been such a blessing to just be in the room and hold space for people. We obviously do a presentation, but through that talking as well, we're finding there's people that live literally 5 miles apart and they don't know each other, and they only meet by coming here. And they find all these commonalities with each other. So now they don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
And, so that's really why we're doing it, is just to help people make that connection.
So tell me about the structure. Clearly you're open to the public. Mm-hmm. Or is it by invitation only?
For the chapter meeting, we are open to the public.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We do.
And then you do a presentation. Is that for the public as well? Is that for the hypnotherapist? What's your approach? It's
for anyone, just because the hypnotherapist community in Minnesota is pretty spread out. So we're tailoring more toward who's attending the meetings and what they want. So we take a poll at the end of each meeting and we say we pick a few topics and who wants this, who wants that. This current one is back on hypnosis. Sometimes we go off topic and do other mind-body modalities. But we try to, hit hypnosis every other month or something like that, just to teach a new, especially self-hypnosis technique, self-care.
How has this impacted the public? And then how has this impacted the hypnotherapist practice that are coming? Is it just you and your former student, or are there other hypnotherapists that participate?
There are 3 other hypnotists that participate right now. We're hoping to grow that. Again, we're all spread out, so it's a little tricky. But it's allowing people to meet us in a different way as hypnotists and realize that we're not all about swinging watches and doing weird things, that we're pretty cool to hang out with, and that we know other cool things as well. So we have she's not a psychotherapist, but behavior analyst who attends our meetings as well. And she too is just feeling lost, like, what do I do next? And I think her next career, she's kind of been hinting of like, she wants to take hypnosis training as well, because she's getting burnt out in her career. It's not the helpful career she thought it was going to be. So doing something different.
Yeah. I love what you're doing. It's very different from my chapter, and I'm very inspired by what you're doing. Is it aligned with what you originally set out to do, or have you evolved over time?
I would say it's pretty aligned. I would love to have more hypnotists collaborating together. I just honestly don't know how to do that at this point. It's something I think we'll have to explore, because I know a couple of years ago, we had some legislation, possible changes coming down the pipe at us. And I reached out to almost every hypnotist in the state that I could find in Minnesota. And I did find, by and large, a lot of them felt alone and just out there on their own. And that's where it kind of started, just percolating and brewing inside of me. Like, we need to change this somehow. So this may in the future, with my helper with the meetings, I think we're probably going to add in a online aspect for them, just because we are so spread out, and just let them come and be a face and a voice in a common place for us to meet.
I love your purpose. I agree. I think, I love our profession, and most hypnotists are working in solitary practices, so they are very isolated and alone. And like you were mentioning about the clients and the public that comes, everybody needs a place to belong and feel that connection. So you're doing, you have such a beautiful purpose and you're doing such good work out there giving that space. And I love that you may expand it into an online situation. You're in a big state. It's probably really hard for some people to get to you.
Yeah, it is.
What advice do you want to give? Some of the people listening to this presentation may be running chapters that aren't as successful as they'd like to be, or maybe they're just considering starting a chapter. What's the advice you want to give them?
Well, if they're thinking of starting a chapter, just dive in and do it. That's like the best place to start, because like I said, I was sitting on the fence about this for a couple of years, and it was just a matter of me needing that support person. But I guarantee if they start reaching out to a fellow hypnotist, or if you're an instructor, reaching out to your students who you've already graduated, you will find someone willing. And so put together a little team, so it's not all just you. That takes a lot of the pressure off. Have good snacks. People love food. People are social animals. So it doesn't cost anything to have some coffee and some tea and some snacks. So have snacks. I would say just be supportive. Like, keep the ego out of it. If someone comes in egotistic, and tries to control, like, just nip it in the bud right away. Don't let that ruin what you're doing, because there's a lot of that out there, and we don't need it in our stuff. And then people are really curious, so do open it up to the public. Let them come in and experience a hypnotist, not one-on-one, but in a group, because groups are always safer to people.
Yes.
They feel safe. They can observe you from the back of the room, but more so they get to know you. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually wearing my chamber shirt for this, because I am an advocate for being involved in your community. Volunteer, get involved in some social groups, a chamber of commerce, a BNI meeting, those kind of things, to meet people and let them meet the you, not just the hypnotist. That is a huge thing. And the other thing I would say about a chapter meeting is do things that get the people that attend involved.
Oh, so I like that.
Get them involved. They actually love it. It is so fun to just see a room full of people. Like, so we're going to do a hypnosis thing. So y'all get to close your eyes, and then we're going to and we just hand it back and forth. And then there's like a live and handouts. People love handouts. So just print up something that has the basics of what you are going to talk about for them, and then let them take notes. The other thing I would say, the reason to do this, if you are a hypnosis instructor, is because then you have a pool of test clients to draw from for your students. You don't realize.
I like your thinking.
What people are comfortable with you, and you're like, hey, I have students that need some practice time. They just want to come. They're like, yes, please. When can I come in? They get. For me, when I do that, the test client comes in, it's a free session for them with my student, which is not paid at all. They do get snacks. They get paid in snacks. But it provides a safe context, and it's a willing participant in the process.
Karen Hand is a board-certified hypnotist, trainer, mentor, international best-selling author, and world-class communicator. Her 30-year career as a Chicago radio personality was the perfect foundation for using language to help others exercise their imagination. Karen's transition to hypnosis repurposed that skill, and since 2005, she's helped thousands of people take control of their lives and train countless hypnotists and NLPers to help others change for good. Karen sees clients and conducts trainings globally via Zoom. She's received many awards, including Hypnotist of the Year, Educator of the Year, Leadership Award, IMDHA Pen and Quill Award for Literary Excellence, and the IACT Distinguished Service Award. Karen is the author of Magic Words and Language Patterns, The Hypnotist's Essential Guide to Crafting Irresistible Suggestion, Hypnotic Workshops Like a Pro, Trance Dance, Hypnotic Art of Leading and Following Hypnosis. So easy you can do it with your eyes closed or wide open. Michael Watson is an internationally known trainer and consultant with a vast wealth of experience. Some of that experience includes his being a member of IACT and being on the board of the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. He's a former president of the Hypnosis Education Association. He's IACT's 2009's Educator of the Year and representative to the Council of Professional Hypnosis Organizations. Michael is on the training staff of Salad Seminars, NLP Comprehensive, and the Up Hypnosis Institute. He's on the faculty of HPTI. He is the director and primary trainer at Phoenix Services for Personal Development and NLP Florida. Patricia Scott is a board-certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist and registered hypnotic anesthesiologist in private practice since 1992. She is president of Up Hypnosis Institute in the Tampa Bay area, Florida, a certified master trainer with the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, and life diplomat with the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. Patty developed a medical hypnotherapy specialty certification training, which was approved through IMDHA in 2015. Prior to 1992, Patty had an impressive 20-year career as a professional singer, actor, dancer, and published songwriter. Jessica Hansen considers herself an educator first and a hypnotist second. She is co-author of IACT's training manual, owner of a state-licensed hypnosis school, and author of 3 books, as well as the creator of the Turtle Transformation Process. She is Roy Hunter's chosen protege, helping to preserve and make available Roy Hunter's contributions to hypnosis. She is often described as an old soul because of her many experiences. She learned hypnosis at the tender age of 13. Her passion is helping people transform with hypnosis, and her love of turtles is contagious. And my name is Sherry Gilbert, and I've enjoyed being your host for this event. I've been practicing hypnotherapy since the year 2000, and I am certified through IACT and IMDHA. I'm a communication coach and relationship specialist with training through the Gottman Institute. I also hold a degree in holistic health. In addition to being part of the online faculty for the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, I have a busy practice in North Scottsdale, Arizona, where I have the pleasure and joy of employing and mentoring several new hypnotherapists as they learn and prepare to run their own businesses in the future. I have a passion for teaching and mentoring, and the nerdy hobby that I have is creating training programs because I love to help hypnotherapists expand their skills in their practice. I've recently become a published author, and I'm proud to have received the 2016 IACT Hypnotist of the Year Award and the 2024 Life Fellow in Hypnotherapy from the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. Like many others, this is my second professional career, and I consider myself an escapee from my previous profession in corporate management. I still wake up every morning excited to work with my clients and to share my passion with new hypnotherapists as they enter the profession. Sometimes I cannot believe how lucky we all are to get to do this and get paid for it.